Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. I am your host, Carrie, and this is Unlocking the Paranormal. For today's episode, I really was interested in doing something fun. I wanted to dive into some UFO reports. So I thought, why not just go state by state and kind of examine what's been seen for some of the major sightings and maybe some of the sightings that people haven't really heard of. So, starting with the last state in the alphabet, I will be sharing reports of UFO sightings and alien encounters from each U.S. state and share reports from other countries. We begin today in Wyoming. I will admit that I was not expecting to learn the many encounters that I did, and most certainly was not expecting the type of encounters that I learned about. This state truly has some kind of mysterious magnetism when it comes to UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call it, and alien life forms. Now, a large part of these sightings are coming from the NICAP.org website, which NICAP stands for National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomenon. The NICAP organization was once one of the most prominent UFO research organizations in the United States, and it was founded in 1956, and it was primarily active from the 1950s to the 1980s. While it was respected for its serious investigations of UFO sightings and advocacy for government transparency, the organization faced significant controversy. Critics come from both ends of the spectrum, while others accused it of being infiltrated by the government agencies seeking to control UFO narratives and not disclosing everything. Other people are on the opposite end of the spectrum. Despite all of this, it is a good starting off point. Obviously, I did have to do a little bit more digging outside of that website, but like I said, it was a good jumping off point. One thing to keep in mind is that the section of the report I am referencing does not have every bit of detail regarding the sightings listed. I will briefly touch on a few examples and then cover one at length. And that's the one I'm really excited to be talking about today. Now, the first reported sightings in the NICAP document falls within the category of close encounters, with witnesses coming within 500 feet of the UFO craft. So basically, I'm just going to be taking examples from each of the categories and sharing them with you all. Now, the first sighting I'm going to be talking about occurred in Gillette, Wyoming at approximately 8:09 p.m. and involved a sheriff's deputy who was traveling with his family. According to the report, the deputy noticed an unidentified object approaching their vehicle at low altitude. Alarmed, he immediately stopped the car and turned off the headlights to observe the phenomenon without interference. The object was described as immense, roughly the size of a semi-truck, and had featured rotating lights that shimmered in an array of vivid, shifting colors. The deputy and his family watched in awe and fear as the craft hovered near their vehicle for several moments, creating an overwhelming sense of unease. The encounter, which was detailed in UFO Investigator, remains a notable case for NICAP, as it exemplifies a close-range encounter with a UFO witnessed by law enforcement as well as additional people in the car, lending to this additional layer of credibility to the account. The second set of sightings reported by NICAP falls under the category of flying discs observed during the day or lights seen at night. The accounts include one particularly notable case from south central Wyoming, where an aviation engineer witnessed an oval-shaped UFO, as well as other sightings in the region that suggest a larger pattern of activity. This sighting is referenced in Ted Blocher's, and I think I'm saying that correctly, seminal report titled The UFO Wave of 1947, which explores the unprecedented surge of UFO sightings in the United States during the summer of that year. According to the report, the wave of activity peaked on July 6th and 7th, 1947, and included more than 850 documented cases across June and July. The detailed chronology of these cases draws from 140 newspapers in 90 cities across the U.S. and Canada, as well as files from NICAP, Project Blue Book, and other specialized UFO publications. Now, today I'm only going to be focusing on cases within Wyoming that were a part of this UFO wave of 1947. If you do enjoy these types of episodes, I will continue with the theme and cover more of these sightings from 1947 when I discuss the sightings from the other states. Now, the South Central Wyoming sighting is specifically referenced as Case 428 in the report. Case 428, the oval UFO in South Central Wyoming. The sighting occurred on July 6, 1947 at 2:45 p.m. in Encampment, Wyoming. David Kenny, an aviation instruments engineer in North American Aviation, along with two other witnesses, his older brother, Joseph Kenny, as well as T.G. Moffett, reported seeing an oval-shaped object in the sky. Years later, Joseph Kenny described the event in a letter to NICAP stating the following: I caught sight of an oval-shaped object directly overhead, traveling north. Its span was roughly 3 times its chord, and it flew with its span normal to its line of flight. It remained visible for nearly 2 minutes and appeared to maintain a straight course throughout. The most striking features were its complete silence and the absence of any smoke or vapor trails that would indicate conventional means of propulsion. Joseph Kenny also noted that while accurate measurements of the UFO's size, altitude, and speed were impossible to determine, the collective opinion of the witnesses was that it was very large and very high by aircraft standards. As the object diminished to a barely perceptible speck, it was still clearly above the horizon. Next, I'm going to get into Case 430, a related sighting in Casper, Wyoming. The report also highlights another sighting that occurred within 15 minutes of Joseph Kenny's encounter. Mr. and Mrs. G.W. Gibson of Casper, Wyoming, approximately 100 miles north of encampment, reported seeing a glittering disc traveling rapidly at a high altitude in the easterly direction. This case, designated as Case 430 in the report, adds a compelling layer to the narrative. While the directions reported in the two cases differ, the close timing of the sightings suggests a possible connection between the events. The UFO wave of 1947, Wyoming experienced 8 reported sightings during June and July of that year, involving a total of 11 witnesses. The Kenny brothers' account and the Gibson sighting stand out for their specificity and the credibility of the number of witnesses. The lack of noise, the absence of the propulsion trails or the vapor trails, and the remarkable consistency across the reports lend weight to the possibility of a larger, unexplained aerial phenomenon occurring over the region during the peak of the 1947 wave. These sightings, like many others from that summer, continue to fuel debates and speculation about the true nature of the events that unfolded during one of the most active periods of UFO activity in history. Now I'm going to get into some other sightings of flying disc and night lights. In addition to the well-documented sightings of oval-shaped UFOs in south central Wyoming, Several other intriguing cases fall into the category of flying discs observed during the day and lights seen at night. These reports, gathered from both military personnel and civilian witnesses, add to the rich tapestry of the unexplained aerial phenomenon in this region. One particularly baffling account comes from F.E. Warren Air Force Base. Witnesses reported observing an object that stopped in midair without any visible signs of deceleration. The abruptness of this maneuver defied the laws of physics as we understand them, suggesting advanced propulsion technology far beyond the human capability. This sighting took place near a secure military installation, heightening its significance, as it raised concerns about national security and potential surveillance of sensitive sites by unknown entities. Now, I know some of you are just going to argue with me right here and say, obviously this is the government doing this, obviously this is a government plane, but at the time, we didn't know of any government plane doing such things, and we still don't know of it now to this day. Then in Cheyenne, Wyoming, another puzzling sighting involved two slender vertical rectangles observed low on the horizon. Witnesses described the objects as stationary but radiating an unearthly glow, their rectangular shapes distinctly outlined against the fading light of the evening sky. The unusual shape of these objects deviated from the more common disc-like descriptions, adding an additional layer of mystery to the case. What could have been the purpose of such peculiar forms? And why are they hovering in plain sight? Now, this next particular sighting you might have heard of before. It was near Leafy, I think I'm saying that correctly, Wyoming. Another extraordinary encounter unfolded when witnesses reported a hovering disc that resembled two dinner plates face to face. The object remained stationary for a moment before suddenly ascending at an incredible speed, vanishing into the sky. The precisions of its hovering and its departure were noted as highly unnatural. The sighting occurred in a rural area, further isolating the event from potential human interference or misidentification of conventional aircraft. Now, one of the most compelling incidents occurred again near F.E. Warren Air Force Base when a UFO was reportedly spotted hovering over a missile silo. The object appeared to linger over the facility, a location housing nuclear weapons. This sighting, documented by the National UFO Reporting Center, is one of many that link UFO activity to sites of strategic military importance. It raises troubling questions about why such areas seem to attract these unexplained phenomenon and whether they pose a threat or are simply observing. Which, this is something that we are experiencing today. I don't know. Can we take comfort in knowing that UFOs have been spotted in sites of military importance for years and nothing has occurred, versus the takeover of the government by alien-human hybrids? Well, that we know of. The third notable encounter, the third category that we will get into, if you will, is electromagnetic disturbances. The third notable encounter from Wyoming falls within the category of electromagnetic cases where UFOs are reported to interfere with electrical systems. This particular event took place near Casper and offers a chilling account of unexplained technological interference. Now, this is even scarier. Before we just have them hovering over missile silos, and now we have them actually interfering with technology. A motorist was driving along a desolate stretch of road near Casper, found their car behaving erratically. As the driver approached a bend in the road, they spotted something unusual. A large, unidentified object sitting motionless directly on the roadway ahead. The object was not described further in the report, but I think we all can agree that that would be really terrifying and shocking of an encounter. In an immediate panic, the motorist attempted to turn their vehicle around to avoid the mysterious craft. However, as soon as they begun to maneuver, the car's engine stalled. Desperately, the driver tried to restart the vehicle, but the engine sputtered and died each time they turned the key. Frozen in fear, and with no means of escape, the motorist could only watch as the object continued to sit silently on the road, almost as if it were observing them. Incidents where vehicles or electronic devices fail proximity to a UFO have been widely documented in similar cases around the world. These occurrences suggest the presence of advanced technology capable of disrupting modern electrical systems, further deepening the mystery surrounding these encounters and what exactly they are. The Casper sighting is a chilling example of how close and unsettling UFO interactions can be, leaving witnesses with not only questions but also a lingering sense of vulnerability. What was the purpose of the object being on the roadway? Was it a mere coincidence? Or was the motorist deliberately stopped and observed? We don't know how long this UFO could have been sitting in that road. We don't know how long it took them to get there. They could have been following this person, got ahead of them, and stopped them. We just don't know. These questions remain unanswered, but they add another layer of the mystery and intrigue around Wyoming's history of UFO phenomenon. Now I'm going to get into the fourth reported encounters, aircraft sightings. The fourth category of reported UFO encounters from Wyoming involves sightings witnessed from aircraft, a perspective that adds a unique layer of intrigue and credibility due to the heightened vantage point and expertise of pilots and passengers. These encounters showcase objects behaving in ways that defy conventional physics and challenge logical explanations. The first example in Weston is referred to as the suspicious shooting star. In Weston, a man reported seeing what at first appeared to be a typical shooting star streaking across the night sky. But what happened next defies all explanation. Instead of disappearing over the horizon, the shooting star came to an abrupt halt in mid-air, hovering silently between the man and a nearby mountain range. This wasn't just a stationary light, it was spinning. The spinning motion paired with its sudden halt suggested something far more sophisticated than a natural celestial event. So, my question is, was this object aware of this man? Did it stop intentionally just to observe or survey the area? Now, another chilling encounter occurred high in the skies between Wyoming and Montana, where a plane crew and passengers reportedly observed an unidentified flying object. This wasn't an ordinary sighting. Witnesses described the UFO as a dumbbell shape, a design completely unlike any known aircraft. Now, as the plane soared through the clouds, the dumbbell-shaped UFO approached the aircraft at an unsettling close range. Its approach was swift and deliberate, leaving no doubt in the minds of the witnesses that this was not a natural phenomenon. For those aboard the plane, I am sure that the sight of this unconventional craft floating beside them was both awe-inspiring and probably deeply unnerving. Now, aircraft sightings like these are particularly fascinating because they often involved highly trained pilots or experienced aviation professionals whose knowledge of the skies make them a credible witness. The behavior of the objects in these accounts, whether it's a shooting star that defies gravity or a dumbbell-shaped craft, demonstrates an advanced level of technology beyond anything currently known to humankind. Were these objects simply passing through the area? Were they deliberately observing the people below, the planes above, the general geography of the area? The mystery surrounding these aerial encounters leaves us to wonder just how much remains undiscovered in the skies above. Again, these are just reports that witnesses have encountered. And I'm sure that when they went through these reports, they probably did not add every single reported encounter. The diversity of the sightings, from hovering discs, vertical rectangles, and abrupt stops, paints a picture of activity that cannot easily be dismissed as natural phenomena or human error. The proximity to F.E. Warren Air Force Base in several reports further suggests a potential connection between UFO sightings and areas of strategic military significance. Together, these accounts not only enrich the narrative of Wyoming's role in UFO Wave of 1947 and beyond, but also challenge us to reconsider our understanding of the skies above. Whether these objects represent advanced human technology, extraterrestrial visitors, or something entirely else remains an enduring mystery. Now, the fifth and final category highlighted on this website is perhaps the most intriguing of them all. Humanoid reports, also known as C3 reports. And I'll be honest with you, I was not expecting to find a story like this in this category, but as I scrolled down to that section of the report, I was pleasantly surprised. There, among the documented sightings, was a single humanoid encounter that stood out. An extraordinary event noted in the report. And all of that will be shared in part 2 of the Wyoming UFO Alien Encounters episode. The reason being is that this second part, this second story, I go into it at great lengths, and I had to do additional research, additional readings. It's a good one. It is a really good story. Today's episode, I just touched on brief fragments of examples that fall within various categories. Now I'm getting into one specific story at great length, and it is a wild, wild story. Now, if you found the first part of this episode fascinating and want to hear more UFO alien related stories from your state or elsewhere in the world, now is the perfect time to get involved. Your voice matters, and your request will help shape future episodes. I don't have to go in alphabetical order. I can jump out of order based on people's requests. That is entirely up to you all, you listeners, based on if you share your opinions with me, whether it's commenting on the episode, on Spotify, or on social media. And with that, I do thank you for embarking on this chilling journey to unlocking the paranormal mysteries of the world. Beyond this episode lies a realm of enigmas waiting to be unveiled. For a full list of the episode source material, head over to the Unlocking the Paranormal Podcast Facebook page. And for additional content, be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Unlocking the Paranormal. Never miss a moment of the unearthly tales that await by following the show wherever you get your podcast. This podcast is independently produced, and sharing it with your friends, families, and your favorite or not even your favorite coworker helps me immensely. And don't forget to leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. And if you would like to join in and become a part of the fun and become a paranormal pen pal to have your story shared on a Parapals episode, you can email it to unlockingtheparanormalpod@gmail.com. Stay tuned for the next episode, where we will venture further into the labyrinth of the supernatural. Until then, stay curious, embark on the journey, and may you find the key to unlocking the paranormal.